Welcome everyone to another Observability Lab. Today we're looking into how site reliability engineers, IT operations, everyone that is basically trying to keep systems running and resilient, how they can benefit from the new capabilities in Dynatrace, connecting infrastructure observability with application observability. And I have Michal with me today, who is going to give us some insights into the latest advancements and how the day in the life of an SRE and infra and ops team looks like. Hey, Michal, thank you so much for being here and for walking us through some of these use cases.
Hi, everyone. I'm a product manager in Dynatrace, working a couple of years with the infrastructure monitoring topics. So let's start from the very beginning. When I'm starting my day as a infrastructure monitoring responsible person, I usually look whether there is something important happening in my environment. And here, if I go into the problems app, I can see there are some problems ongoing. So I really want to see whether I should tackle them first or not. And one of the problems that actually caught my attention is the one that affected 12 of our entities in Dynatrace. So let's take a look into that. And this one, of course, with the whole Dynatrace picture around how many users were affected, how many sessions, whether we have some services and front ends. This is all very important to judge whether I should tackle this problem here or there. But because I'm really focusing on the infrastructure, I want to immediately jump into this part of the which of the hosts or processes were actually affected by this particular problem that had quite widespread on our user base. Almost 300 users were affected by this problem. And one of the problems here is that Dynatrace already detected that we had deployment change that affected a couple of processes that also led to resource contention in this case, CPU saturation on this host. Let's just jump into this host. And now we're switching the views from the very generic problem application that handle problems for all different domains into the infrastructure and operations app, which is the heart of what I will be using on a daily basis to check the health state or the performance of my infrastructure. And here we're immediately in that host. We're in the problem investigation mode. So actually, our view is narrowed down to the particular time frame of where this problem has happened. And we're also limiting other events or other problems that could happen in the same time window. Here we can see that this problem was happening. Here's the CPU saturation. The event was visible here. This is already past problem, so this is kind of a post-mortem analysis, but this also is important for us to understand it better so we can prevent it in future, and maybe we can even implement some automatic remediation actions for that. So let's into the processes, because then maybe we can see which processes contributed to this overall CPU usage that was actually almost 100%, which might lead to some processes crashing or they're working much slower than usual. And this type of chart is what we usually call the contribution chart. We have those contribution charts in a couple of places in IO app, because this is not only important to see the current values of particular metric of particular process or host, not only the historical line, whether this was growing or decreasing, but also how the complete picture of different processes running of this host were using the CPU. And we can see that those processes used half of the CPU actually. So if we just analyze them separately, maybe we would not detect this problem. But two of those processes using half summed up, totaled to the CPU being used completely. And here we have the list of processes. We can, this is interactive. We can also add some more into the picture to see completely what was happening on that host during that particular event that was caused by some deployment change.
So Michal, if I look at this, really fascinating, because as you said, you see the historical overview. We show you all of the individual processes. I can see here the live business backend. That seems to be an issue. So that means you can just click on it and also get details about that process, I would assume. It seems like it's an Apache Tomcat.
Definitely, we'll go into that Apache Tomcat in a second. Just want to show you one more thing, because this shows the overview of the process, but also provides the state of the monitoring. So for those processes on the IIS, we have full monitoring enabled. For those, we should restart those processes to have a better understanding, to better integration of the one agent. This is our own one agent, so we are not really monitoring. It doesn't make sense. But you're right, Andy. Here, if I click on this process, especially maybe on this one, I'll be taken to the to the details of this particular process. And because this is IIS, I can also see some additional metric from the .NET and from the Microsoft IIS server, like garbage collector, thread pool, and some other.
Cool.
And what is
Is
new
the-
here? Yeah, sure, please go.
Yeah, no, what I really wonder now, if I look at this and you showed me that there's some processes, some Apache Tomcats, some .NETs, and if I have a large environment with many hosts, hundreds and thousands, can I easily see what other .NET processes I may have or other Tomcats that I have globally? Is that possible?
Definitely, and this is a new thing that we just released with the version 1.17 that was released late in December. So probably you should be already able to use it on our SaaS environments. That now we put the processes as a separate list within the environment. Previously, you could only see the processes underneath the host, and this was a bit limiting. And we understand that the list of processes can be pretty large, but this gives us opportunities, and let's get rid of this problem filter. So we'll see all the processes, not only the one involved in this problem, and then we can use the filtering on the list of technologies that we have here. Let's try to find Apache Tomcat here, for example, and apply this filter, because this takes a call to our backend to get the data. And we have, as you said, we have plenty of processes that are associated with the Tomcat, like MQ clients. Maybe we can make this column even bigger, if possible. Maybe you can see some more. Some containerized images. So plenty of Tomcat Tomcat processes that you can filter from different hosts now.
Do me a favor, can you click on one of the +4, +5? I think this is where you then see, oh yeah, here we go. So that means we really have all this information and you can filter on all of those. And in this particular thing, obviously, right, we see the overview of all of these processes. Yeah, it's perfect. You can filter gets automatically adapted. So show me all of the Tomcats, Java. I mean, it is obviously Java, so that's duplicated filter. Can you also switch to the utilization tab where you can basically give me yeah, that's awesome, right? You get an immediate overview of what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and the main purpose of the tabs is to limit the information or overload. So we do have like almost 20 columns of the different data points that we can gather for those processes as a glance here, not even counting all the charts that we have when we click into the details. But here, to sort, to filter, to compare between processes, we have about 20 different fields. Hence, we added the perspectives here for metadata, utilization, and health, so we can actually have a better view and simpler way to compare between those processes and maybe even to sort between them. This is just that it should sort quite fast, yeah.
Cool. And then from here, as you said earlier, you could click on one of these processes and then immediately get all the details. Like in this case, that Tomcat that runs on this particular Windows machine, how it's instrumented. Yeah, awesome. Perfect.
And then this processes overview, which is now seen in this panel on the right, is following the same concept, the same structure as we have for hosts. So we have the tabs for logs, for events, for vulnerabilities, which are very standard for different components of Dynatrace. And the processes has joined this list here on the left. So it's easier now to perform analysis on different types of the processes.
Cool. Would you mind just quickly expanding these info events, just to curious on what they are on the bottom? Okay, yeah, perfect.
There's plenty of information here, which is not structured here, but this is also something that comes from the event itself. So actually, it could be analyzed with the node, for example.
Yeah. But it's basically a deployment event. I can see it here. It's ServiceNow has approved. Somebody has approved the ServiceNow change request, and then it was executed through Ansible. So we see all of this information, and I think we also saw this earlier in the problem ticket, because initially we started there's a problem that was caused by a change. The change was impacting a CPU or causing a CPU spike, and this is how we drilled further. Michal, on the infrastructure and operations app, the one that you're showing, what else is there on the high-level overview? I really like to see a couple of more things here.
Definitely. We also added containers. we have a separate list of containers, as containers are something between processes and hosts, to group those processes and isolate them for security or for resource assignment. And we have a separate view for that. And we also have containers from different hosts on the one list. So you can then again listen, filter that, use the perspectives, and go into details of any of this particular one, particular containers. And here, there's also a pattern that we're using for the hosts. We have container group, for example. So again, coming back to the full list, filter by container group, and we can see those containers that belong to that group. This is something that we didn't have. Now it's already released and able to use as a new thing for every user that uses the app.
Also, network devices sounds really interesting, right?
Yeah, and on the things that we already have in the application for a long time, but maybe you didn't have the chance to use them. Top level, we have data centers, then we have hosts and processes containers that we just described, which is a very standard approach. Network devices, this is the part of the network that is getting more and more popular with Dynatrace, and this provides all the different network interfaces, network devices that are being monitored by our extensibility. So we have Cisco, we have F5, we have Juniper, we have Aruba, and different technologies of those large network infrastructures that are supporting the core of your processes and services. And let me go into one of them. So here we have the extension that is actually monitoring that we have added the syslog for that, but we also have a Palo Alto dedicated extension that is crafted to get the particular metric from this Palo Alto firewall. And then again, underlying interfaces of that. Let's see whether we can have more information here.
Oh, wow. Download to the interface. Yeah, cool.
So it's pretty detailed, and those network extensions are created for a long time and now being used on the widely being used on large infrastructures for the network monitoring.
And the great thing is, again, now this is not just data on glass, so looking at data. Obviously, you can look at all this data, but the way we started this video today is around how does this really help you if you are a site reliability engineer, if you are in IT operations. You want to know, is there a problem that is currently ongoing, and is it something that is related with infrastructure, yes or no? And then we can obviously drill down to all the details if you want to, or you can go broad if you know there might be an issue with a certain network device, if there's an issue with a certain type of process that you run, containers, you can easily find everything. Yeah, wow.
For all those networks, we also have this reachability factor that is being calculated on whether our monitors can reach to the particular interface. So it's also useful to monitor whether all the parts of your network are reachable from Dynatrace monitoring.
Cool.
So this was the standard part of what we have in the application, but also we added 6 most popular extensions or technologies that we monitor through extensions like VMware, like Kafka, like Nutanix. So actually, we can also see all of those entities from those technologies that are also very present in especially large environments and large enterprises. And you can manage them within the IO app in a similar way as we do with data centers, hosts, or network devices. So everything is actually here within the application, and these are entities of Dynatrace with a very, very standard approach to how we're treating all different interfaces, entities.
Entities, perfect, cool. And obviously, what I really like, it always says no problems. So by default, there's nothing for me to do if there are no problems detected, at least not on this particular VMware. But the day, it seems, as you mentioned earlier, it starts still with the Problems app. The Problems app is a different approach of dealing with, do I have something I need to take care of, yes or no? So if there's a problem detected by Dynatrace, we know what is the blast radius, who is impacted, are users impacted, and what is the root cause. And then we also show you, from an impact perspective, all of the infrastructure components. Like as you showed earlier, I think this is really the power where we bring everything together and then make it easier for application teams or IT operation teams to know what to do next. Yeah.
And I think this is a good combination of having a general problems overview that relate to the whole environment and to every different thing in the environment. Here, if we filter by the active problems, we have 20 problems active. So this is a large number of problems. And the problem app for me at least, main task is to help us which problem to start with. If we just have one problem, yeah, that's great, which we just can solve it. But if we have 20 problems, we need to decide which problem we should start working on first. And we had this example with the infrastructure one, when we have this deployment change that can be reverted potentially because we know what event was there. This could be the one of the remediation that could be also automated. But also not to overload this list of problems. This is something that is not yet released, but will be released soon, early this year, let's say, is the concept of, let me go back to the host for a second, the concept of warning. So we're taking the alerting that we had in Dynatrace, especially for the infrastructure, and this will be also done for hosts, for clouds, for Kubernetes, for databases, and we are introducing this intermediate level of warning that if we go here into the alert status, we can see that we have now warning status for the alerts that are not creating a Dynatrace problems, that are not creating events that can be used in PagerDuty to wake people in the middle of the night to actually tackle them. But this is something that can be solved later. So now or soon, with Dynatrace, you'll be able to decide very quickly whether this event of your disk getting full is just your disk will be full within a week or within a couple of days, and you can continue with your morning coffee, or this is actually the disk that is 99.9% full, and your application will stop working because they cannot write their logs, for example, on the disk in a couple of minutes. Actually, you need to act immediately. So this additional level of warning is something that we're introducing already, and I think this is being released even maybe January.
Very good. Cool. Hey, one last thing, Michal, if you do me one more favor, go back to that initial problem that you had opened, that one.
Sure, no problem.
With the infrastructure, with the deployment change. I think you had one with a couple of affected entities. Yeah. Because one of the things that we also do is you can explain everything with the AI. And I remember when you showed me this the first time, if you are dealing with a problem ticket like this, you can obviously look at the data, drill down, follow the red, as we call it, the root cause. But can you click on explain with AI?
Sure, definitely. Because, if you're deep into the topic, you know that what the BB Apache Tomcat something host is, but maybe you're not. Maybe this is a huge environment and actually you don't know each host by name, which can happen. So then this explain with AI comes very handy.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just impatient. Sorry for that.
That's okay. Cool. And it basically gives you an overview of everything that is happening, actionable steps, pointing you to the root cause, also validating, like how to validate that a fix has potentially solved the problem with a load test. I'm a big performance engineer. I like that we give those best practices as well.
And in this way, we can help SREs in different ways. We can first of all have very structured information in the problems app that you can follow your paths to resolve the problem 3 a.m. no matter what. But we also have a narrative to kind of take a bit different, kind of to use different wires in your brain even to understand what the problem really was, how it happened. But I think that the most important one is how to potentially to remediate it, because the problem will be solved. There are many problems we can solve rather easily with a more or less cost, adding more fleet or reverting a deployment, so on and so forth. But then how to prevent it in future, how to remedy it, and how to set up the correct auto remediation for the future. This is for me the most interesting part of how you work and what is your goal in your daily work.
Exactly. Michal, thank you so much. If you close this, do me just one favor, close this one. And then on the problems app here, on this problems details, folks, there are other videos out there where we cover what the problems app is all about. Obviously, you've seen the overview, you've seen some of the infrastructure and ops pieces. Check it out. There's a lot of information in there. Michal, one last time, please go into that problem ticket. I guess My instructions are
No worries.
causing. What I really like about this is we also have on the different tabs where it says overview, we give you deployment information, we give you events, we also show you all of the logs, and what is also rather new is troubleshooting. Troubleshooting means you can also specify troubleshooting guides. That means if you already had a problem in the past, you would see the troubleshooting guide for a similar problem. So this is really helpful. Or if this is a new problem like this one, you can create a new troubleshooting guide right from here to kind of work on this problem, document everything, and the next time a problem like this would come again, it would show up here. But Michal, I think, thank you so much. Anything else that we missed?
Actually, I still have one more sneak peek that I really want to share. I know I don't have it yet in the playground, but I was saying that we have those 6 most popular technologies monitored here, but this is not enough. Dynatrace is monitoring like probably thousands of different technologies, but at least almost 200 of them with the extensions. So what we're also adding very soon is the huge list of different technologies that we can monitor within this IO app, and again with all the entity structure, with all the Smartscape nodes underneath, and all the technologies will be represented here properly, as for example for this Kafka that is being monitored by Prometheus. There's no metrics here, but it doesn't matter. And actually, all those things that are monitored with accessibility that need to be presented in Dynatrace properly will have their place in the IO app, and you can use IO app to monitor them easily.
Awesome, very cool.
Not only those 6 that we have, the most popular ones here.
Yeah. Cool. But obviously, it makes sense that you made a decision on what to show up front because these are the most popular ones. And then everybody can get all the access to the data. You can obviously put everything on the dashboard. You can get alerts. You can trigger workflows, everything that you can do with any type of data analysis. Michal, thank you so much. Great to see that we are really helping SREs, IT operations, application owners to have it easier in case problems strike. We show them if there's a problem, whether it's related to infrastructure or whether it's something else, and we give them all the data that they need with a couple of clicks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you back soon, hopefully.
Thanks.